A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Conclave on Indian Parliamentary Election Reflections on Manipur and India's Northeast, organized by the IMPHAL Free Press in collaboration with People's Campaign on Resurgent Manipur PCRM. My name is Elizabeth Okram, and I take immense pleasure to welcome each and everyone present today on behalf of the organizers. Ladies and gentlemen, the forthcoming Indian parliamentary election is stated to be a crucial one that implicates not only the nature of political culture in the country, but also the idea of India itself. In many ways, it is also likely to further shape the role, place of national and regional parties in the affairs of the state. In this regard, besides the fate of coalition politics, whether it is here to stay or not, it also raises the question of whether BJP has finally come to substitute the Indian National Congress as the dominant national party in Indian politics. On the other hand, the role of corporate and media houses in shaping electoral politics also raises crucial questions on the fate of democratic politics in the country. The present conclave is to reflect on the implications of the above scenario for India's Northeast in general and Manipur in particular. We will skip all formalities and jump straight to the main agenda of the program. To begin the panel discussion, may I call upon our speakers one by one. First, may I call upon the moderator of the session, Professor Akoijam Bimol, Jawaharlal Nehru University and convener of the PCRM, People's Campaign on Resurgent Manipur. May I now call upon Shri Pradeep Panjobam, Editor-in-Chief, IMPHAL Free Press. May I now call upon Shri R.K. Anand, MP candidate for the Northeast India Development Party. May I now call upon Shri Oinam Nabakishore Singh, MP candidate of the Indian National Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, this panel discussion will begin with a video call that will be facilitated by our moderator, Professor Akoijam Bimol. May I now request Shri R.K. Anand, Shri R.K. Ranjan Singh, MP candidate of the Bharatiya Janata Party, to kindly join our panel members on the dais. May I also call upon Ms. Sangeeta Pishorati Barua, Deputy Editor of Wire.
Prasenjit.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for being here. I know you have been waiting for almost an hour now. We have this discussion today called Indian Parliamentary Election and its implication for the Northeast in general and Manipur in particular. I just wanted to start with you before you go so that we can continue after you leave.
Right.
Briefly, we have incidentally 3 of the candidates in the ongoing election from Manipur, inner parliamentary constituency.
Right.
And Tamo Pradeep, you know him, IMPHAL Free Press editor is here with us, and Sangeeta Barua from the Wire is also with us here. So, Prasenjit, just to set the discussion rolling, I just wanted to ask you, what is the significance of this parliamentary election? A lot of people are saying that this is going to determine what India is going to be, some people project it as new India, or some people say it is going to be a threat to the very idea of India. What is your take? How important is this Indian parliamentary elections, this one?
Yeah, I mean, there is this larger national context. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, larger national context of maintaining and continuing the plural cultural diversity and multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multilingual fabric and social metrics of India. Now, when people start talking in the name of a particular religion, particular region, particular language or particular community, they actually undermine the very idea of India. And voting is all about polarization. People have to be polarized in the name of this or that. Some categories and subcategories are invoked in order to generate a kind of collective sensibility or collective emotion, which can translate into votes in terms of a big chunk of people supporting a certain party. Now, this very electoral process and the idea of India are in conflict. This is at the national level.
No,
Now,
Prasenjit, if I may interrupt, Prasenjit, if I may interrupt, what you have been describing is it's been part and parcel of Indian democracy or Indian electoral politics. People have been trying to create vote banks. Right. There have been accusation of caste politics being played out. But what I was asking specifically is this present election, ongoing election, something special in the trajectory of India as a country, the very idea of India and so on? That's what I want specifically want.
Yeah. Right, coming to the point, it's very special in the sense that on the one hand, this multicultural, multilingual India has to be protected. And on the other, there's a serious threat to the very idea of India as people are trying to talk in terms of a religious nationalism. They're trying to talk in terms of certain communities while treating certain other communities as extraneous, outsider, unwanted, etc., etc. So there is a kind of a communal division that is ripping apart through the heart of India's democracy. And that is something which has arisen at this moment as a big threat to India's democracy. You can see institutions are being destroyed. You can see financial institutions are granting loan waivers to the tune of 10 lakh crores, which has happened in the last 5 years. India's GDP is growing, but at the same time, large part of this GDP is getting concentrated in the hands of a very few corporates and business families. So the very idea of India is upturned into a coterie, into a caucus constituted by certain powerful people and elite, and against which the people are not able to raise their voice.
Okay, Prasenjit, just one more interruption, if I may. What you're suggesting is that Indian democracy, there is some sort of a crony capitalism is taking over, corporate houses are coming in and stuff like that. But don't you think that that has been a feature of this democracy for a long, long time? It's not something very special this time only.
This time it is special in terms of its augmented and heightened quantities of loan waivers, tax exemptions, and the kind of one-sided gratification of certain companies and corporate houses. This has never happened before at this scale and at this degree. Therefore, it becomes exceptional to see that for 50 years, 6 airports have been given onto a kind of a leased out to a certain company, a company which doesn't have any experience of running the airport. At the height of Balakot airstrike, when a Balakot airstrike was happening, things were leased out. ONGC were forced to buy shares of loss-making public sector company so that ONGC can go into loss. BSNL has not been able to pay his salary this month. HAL had to borrow 1,000 crore just to meet its salary.
What I'm still trying to get I'm just trying to get at something, Prasenjit, here. You are speaking about possibly some of the flaws of the present administrations, but what I'm wondering is that is it unique to this administration, or are these aspects part and parcel of Indian administration or government, whichever party that's been ruling this country, or even the political culture of this country for all these years?
No, there is an exceptional situation now. This hasn't happened.
What is this exceptional nature? Can you briefly tell us?
Yes, this is surrendering the political values and the political power entirely to the dictates of certain companies and corporate houses.
Okay.
And the nexus between the political power and the corporate is a kind of an autonomous nexus, which is trying to now move from India to the global market. Earlier it used to be dictated by the global powers. Now the autonomous nexus between the Indian political class and the crony capitalists are trying to reach out to the shores of the world. So it is something exceptional in the name of a heightened presence of Indian capital in the global market, and also its reverse impact on the Indian political system, which is a certain kind of imprisonment and shrinking of the political rights of ordinary people, and a loss of capability of devolution, decentralization, a multifarious kind of resistances, oppositions, and many voices that could have been there to oppose it and not to agree with it is now scuttled by this crony capitalist.
Okay,
So
let me come more specific so that we can anchor some of this issue before I let you go. And I have two more sets of questions for you before you leave.
Yeah.
The first is looking at these two main parties, Indian National Congress and the BJP. If you look at the manifesto, there is a hardline nationalist sort of flavor in the BJP's manifesto. On the other hand, some people say that Congress manifesto has become more left than the leftist parties in India. Do you agree with this assessment?
No, it cannot be so. Congress has remained centrist. Only thing that it ensures is the strengthening of the welfare base of the Indian state by extending larger amount of welfare finances to the people who are in need. In contrast, BJP's emphasis on national security in terms of a heightened form of militarization, in terms of building up space defense, in terms of augmenting the defense above all other aspects of human security and maintenance of cultural, political and economic diversity of this country is something that is a turn towards overt centralization.
Okay, what do you mean to suggest? What you are effectively telling is, if I get you right, what you're saying is that Congress is still centrist, not gone on the left side. But do you agree with the other part of the assessment that the BJP has become more like a hardliner position, that in this manifesto they take on, even yesterday you heard the Home Minister saying something about sedition law, and people will go spine down, the fear will be instilled and stuff like that. So you think that it is hyper-nationalism is being still pursued by BJP in this manifesto?
Hyper-nationalism combined with an open call for a militarized polity, which is again like scuttling the political voices that can critique the state or the political party in power, and then using certain draconian laws to suppress those voices.
Okay,
we can see
very quick question, because we have panelists here on the stage, so I would like to get back to them. What is the two crucial aspects you think has the implication for India's Northeast with this scenario in the national level? What are its implications? If you have to pick up two.
The implication is that already the special status of Northeast has been taken away. There is less of investment in social welfare, in education, health, infrastructure building. Now, in case of infrastructure building, something special could be seen. There is again an assertion for building up dams in various rivers, and to protect these dams, there could be a bit of a militarist kind of a policy in support of Armed Forces Special Power Act, which has brutally repressed a large number of people in various kinds of social and political movements. And therefore, there is not much of a hope in the context of Northeast, except that the Northeast will be now aggressively made a part of the mainstream. The Citizenship Amendment Bill is another affront on the very political and cultural identity and the diversity of the peoples of Northeast, which legitimizes illegal immigration on the one hand, and on the other takes away the very right to exist as independent autonomous groups of people, because everyone has to be now concerned about who will come and who has to be hosted in the name of being partition victims, which has been overblown in the CAB. And on the other side, CAB does not clearly spell out who are going to get the benefit of the citizenship. So both ways, it is like playing some raw emotions that have been created in the context of Northeast, and the popular voting must take into account these two phenomena of aggressively appropriating Northeast and also imposing a kind of a draconian legal provision along with this soft legal provision of citizenship laws that take away effectively people's rights and people's concerns.
Okay, my last question, Prasenjit. What is the future of regional parties in India's Northeast?
Can you repeat?
What is the future of regional parties in India's Northeast?
Regional parties do have a kind of a great future, provided they can ally themselves together. But most of the regional parties are dancing to the tune of a big brother because they are getting some soft cash out of that kind of partnership. The electoral machinery has to be greased by getting cash from the big brother, and therefore there is a tacit, there is an implicit, sometimes explicit alliance with the big brother. Regional parties must maintain their identity, and in that case, regional parties are not really coming forward, and they're not really in the mode of a struggle, but they really want very quick political power, and therefore they are compromising their own regionalist ideology and regional position. And this actually creates a political vacuum in the context of Northeast India, which won't be easy to be filled up in the coming future, very easily.
Okay. Thank you, Prasenjit, for giving us time. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you too
All
for
right.
giving me this opportunity to converse with you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is, I mean, what is the significance of the
The idea of India. I don't
No,
know.
I'm saying this election, is it that crucial
but
as some
first you
people?
were asking about the idea of India, and also you were speaking to him, and it was a two-way kind of conversation. We were not part of it. We were just listening. So I was also wondering what this idea of India is, and the idea of idea of India that Prasenjit was defending. Is he trying to say that there's only one idea of India? There cannot be an alternative idea of India. Is it so fundamental that this is something unshakable? I mean, I'm not necessarily talking about the Hindutva brand of idea of India only, but supposing you are also looking at the dictatorship of the proletariat, the kind that Marx talked about. Now, he saw Hegel standing on his head. So are you also objecting to that kind of an India? Are you saying there's only one idea of India? This question I wanted to ask him, but there was no opportunity. So I think the question that you were asking me, I can throw back at you, that what is this idea of India that you're talking about? Are you saying that this is that elitist kind of thing, that where you also, the very status kind of a definition of idea of India, idea of the state as such, where, even human rights is defined in terms of the state? Are you saying, for instance, that the right of the indigenous peoples, which is sometimes go against the human rights, the idea of human rights, which is why we have come up with the United Nations, the UNDRIP, as it is called. So I wanted to pose these questions. Since he is not there, I want to pose it to you. Are you saying, because when you ask that question, that the idea of India is going to be defined, is going to be challenged, you have to have an idea of India. Which is going to be challenged.
Let me put it this way. What I'm saying is that there are a lot of commentaries. I mean, I'll take this from the other panelists as well. The people are saying that the Nehruvian, secular, multicultural sort of an idea that drives the idea of India. Say, take, for example, an academic work by Sunil Khilani's take on liberal democracy, secularism, that characterizes seriously under threat from Hindu right sort of in hardcore statist and cultural nationalism. That's what is it really like that in this election?
Once upon a time, it was also on a threat. For instance, the Naxal movement is still seen as a threat. I'm much higher saying that's going to be eliminated. I'm quite sure the other parties are also going to say these are challenging the idea of India, as you're talking about. There's a certain idea of India which you are presuming to be unchallengeable. So I'm asking whether you're taking this as a given, that it is something so fundamental that you can't change, that this election is supposed to preserve that idea only and not to think of any reformation.
Okay, interestingly, we have two representatives from these two national parties. Yamung, if I may ask you, this very idea that secular, liberal democracy, multicultural, that drives the idea of India since the Nehruvian time. Incidentally, Prime Minister Modi took over as the Prime Minister on 26 May, and the next day happens to be the death anniversary of Nehru. So the coming of Modi is almost like a transition from the Nehruvian idea to a more cultural nationalism driven by a sense of Hindutva as a central core concerns. So therefore, this election is all about contestation between two sets of ideas. Do you agree with this assessment? Yeah, let's check it.
Yeah. In my opinion, the current election is to make a strong nation. and oneness of India. So, of course, some people might have criticized that the liberal democracy is losing, but actually it is not losing. We want to make the nation strong, and India should be one. It should be one and have the full strength of the nation. That is the idea where we are fighting the elections.
You don't think this is a contestation of two different ideas of India?
I positively belongs to that, to make a strong nation, India.
Okay, you are still avoiding my question. So you come from the party which is trying to say that we are still the flag bearer of Nehruvian idea of India, secular democracy, liberal democracy. Do you think this election, my interest is this election, as many analysts is saying that it is almost a contestation of two sets of ideas?
I may not agree with that, Actually, I mean, my perspective or the perspective of the Indian National Congress is rather, saving our democracy, saving our constitution, The preamble of the constitution captures the idea of India, what kind of India we would like to have, But unfortunately, during this regime of the BJP in the last 5 years, the institutions and the pillars of democracy are under severe attack. Say, for instance, judiciary is under attack. The independence of judiciary is so important for us to have a vibrant democracy, because the last resort for any citizen or for anybody is the judiciary, whether it's a High Court or Supreme Court. Unfortunately, the judges of the Supreme Court have come out saying that they are under some kind of interference from the executive. That is very unfortunate. The second thing is that the media, which is so important in order to promote, this freedom of expression and the freedom of exchange of idea and the idea of having dissent, that which is so critical for a vibrant democracy, is again under severe kind of attack. See, we can see lots of these TV channels, they have been promoting one kind of idea, and which is
Damo, if I may interrupt, I know this is a criticism that people have been doing it, and I have also raised this issue with Professor Prasenjit, that many of the people also said that this has been there before also. But my specific question is, do you see this present election, Lok Sabha election, as a contestation of two different set ideas of India, one represented by BJP and NDA, another represented by Congress and UPA? Do you think it is a contestation of two sets of ideas?
I won't limit this contest to the, this contest of ideas. There are several other things apart from these ideas. Of course, broadly, BJP is a right-wing party, conservative party, and the Indian National Congress is a liberal democratic party, which has the socialism at its roots, So many of the ideas of the, which are reflected in the manifesto of Indian National Congress reflects its commitment, to promote this what you call socialism, in the sense of to provide social security, say these schemes like these minimum income guarantee schemes. This is in order to provide some kind of subsistence to the people who are the in the poorest of the poor category. So I won't agree to say that it is just contest of two ideas only. It's much broader kind of a discussion. Indian National Congress has a commitment, to take India to much higher level of development. I think the panelists from the BJP or my counter candidate says that they want to make India strong.
We are coming to policy matter.
I will contest that.
Because you don't see that as a contestation of ideas.
Yeah,
I'm just focusing on that when you are going into the policy and so on. I just want to quickly take from you, Sangeeta, you have been watching it from Delhi, and this has been the commentary that has been coming in, and some politician like Kejriwal is saying that, if Modi comes back, this will be the last election you will have it, stuff like that. do you also agree with this political analysis, talking in the national televisions and media, and even some political party asserting that this is actually do or die situation of one set of idea of India and another set of idea? It's not even merely conservative party versus a liberal, but this seems to be much more deeper contestation, as some people, whether, if you cast over, if you listen to the opposition political parties and many of these analysts, even the artists have come out, there's a contestation.
Yeah. See, I'd like to see it from two different levels, One, of course, is this discourse that you were talking about, where even artists have come out, Bollywood actors have come out, written letters, even the former army chief have come out and said that don't politicize the army. So this is at one level. But when you go down to meet people, they are also looking at various other issues to this election, not just the idea of India. They are still caught in the basic things of drinking water, roads, and this basic development, housing. They're caught in that. So there are two levels that I would look at these elections. And so, of course, as a journalist, the difference that I'm seeing is also the increased reports of this mob lynching that is happening, almost normalizing somebody being attacked, which is not, I don't think any right-thinking person, whether you belong to any party or, whichever party, you should not support, because it's actually, it's normalizing violence, so it's not that violence didn't happen before, but this sort of violence have always happened, but you just ensure that, punishment is given, to this kind of, to people who have done that. And then we don't hear anything from the top political leaders, who are in power, condemning this. So these things need to be looked at. And the other thing is, of course, media. I come from the media, and I've seen this, there's like only one sort of narrative, been allowed to, and the others are looked at. You can't question the government of the day, but I feel the job for a journalist is to question the government of the day.
That is precisely what I'm saying. If you think about a liberal conception of India, the free press and multiculturalism versus one set of idea. One thing which I've got it from you is that you are saying that although you accept that this is part of the analysis that people are doing, political campaigning has been done on this basis, but you are saying that there can be a divisionary element to this whole narrative, because
Yes.
there are other basic issues like drinking water,
Yes.
and
Yes.
employment.
Like
labor
3
and
weeks
so on.
ago, I came to Manipur to do a story with just 25 kilometers away from IMPHAL. There's a village, there's so many villages actually, a village which doesn't have electricity. Their basic issue is electricity. They're not thinking about the idea of India, they are just thinking about that. So, but when we go to, say, my newsroom in Delhi and all, people are talking about it. The idea of India. So there are different levels that you have to see these elections, according to me.
Yamung, if I come to you, who is an observer, as although you have moved from one party to the other, but I think your moorings is like homecoming, if I may say it so. You started with the regional, then you went to International Congress, you recently came, whatever is the reason, living behind it. As in a regional sentiment, do you think, my first question is, do you agree with this larger narrative that's been going on, that this election is going to be decisive in terms of what kind of India, two sets of ideas of India, one. Two, what kind of implication do you see in this contestation for states like Manipur? Whichever wins the election, with these two ideas. First of all, I'm asking, do you agree with this contestation of two ideas, basic sets of ideas, and what implication is for us as a Manipur?
We all understand India is it's a nation built on diversities, different communities, different races and religions. And the concept of tolerance has to be part of this philosophy when we call India as a nation. It's not only a contestation of two ideas, set of ideas, like the two national parties. There are other things that also needs to be projected, discussed, and addressed. The grievances. What I'm feeling is, what I understand at the moment is, many of the democratic institutions have been undermined in the recent past. That needs to be protected. And a lot of issues being faced by the Indian mass, that's a common man, they have not been addressed. They are yet to be addressed. And like it has been stated at some point of time, like the basic necessities, like the power, even basic drinking water, even basic housing, whatever it is, like which we term as basic, they have not been addressed completely, adequately. And more than anything else, what I notice and what I see is that there's the degree of intolerance by some of the national parties of those marginalized and smaller groups is increasing. This is a trend that disturbs the very concept of India, as I understand, as many of us understand. This is also one area where this is not being discussed in this present elections. Sometimes I wonder, will the problems and difficulties of these marginalized groups and people and communities will ever be addressed in the present India, which is being projected by some of the national parties?
Which parties, you say?
Like the present NDA.
So in the earlier regime didn't have
No,
this correct?
they had, but somehow in the process they had also corrected, and they have taken the beatings also. I mean, people had accepted after taking beatings. But this government is yet to take the beatings. No? That's what I feel, this NDA government.
So what implication do you draw for us as a small state like Manipur?
Next, I think aggressive regionalism is the answer to all these problems.
Aggressive?
Regionalism.
Regionalism.
We have to be vibrant, we have to be assertive, vocal, and make everyone hear that we have this problem, we have these grievances, they should be heard. If necessary, we'll snatch our rights. There are a lot of issues, which have made us compromise our basic rights, the human rights, by national parties in the name of national interest. And what I see is the ultimate analysis of this national interest is the interest of the larger population, especially inhabited in central India. This we have to think, and we have to discuss.
Yamung, this very interesting thing you said, we have to assert when you talk about regionalism. It's quite like Professor Vishwas is saying, we ought to. But the reality seems to be something else in Northeast. So let me be straight with you. What is the future of regional parties in Northeast, and particularly in Manipur, where Manipur People's Party is almost non-existent, and your party is too early to give a comment on this. On the other hand, in states like Assam, the way, as Professor Vishwas was also saying, they are hobnobbing with the larger politics and economy of at the national level being appropriated. Within these realities, what is the future of regional party in Northeast and in Manipur particularly?
What I feel is, like, yes, some of the regional parties have weakened, but they have never died. They have remained dormant, and that can be that can still be brought back to
Yeah,
life
well, I'm
and
asking
light.
this because you represent a party.
No,
of
that's the point.
regional-
That's exactly what I'm trying to
So
emphasize.
let me push it a little harder.
Uh,
In other states, you have Telugu Desam
No, no, no,
Party,
that's
AIDMK.
again.
Why is that Manipur do not have this kind of a standing?
We need to change our mindset. The
That's-
people of Manipur, we need to change our mindset. Why remain very dependent? It's a mindset. Why we should depend always on the central government? Why we should go there with a begging ball, begging that we should be helped? We are not as such, we are not helpless people. We have lived as a kingdom, we have lived as a nation states.
Okay. If I come to Tamapu there, you have been observing so acutely. I mean, you are one of those persons who have seen what's happening in the state. You look at the outer also. If I ask you the same question, what is the future of regional party, particularly in Manipur? What is the future of regional parties in Northeast in general, in Manipur in particular? Why they are not as active as, say, for example, DMK, IDMK, or Telugu Desam, Biju Janata Dal, or Akali Dal, or NC, or the PD? Why is that regional parties are like this in Manipur? What is this future?
I think that answer, I'll have to refer to other theories that have come up. For instance, I think it has to do with the ideology, that you have a strong narrative thread to bind on to, then I think that party will stay. And that thread is missing in the case of Manipur. Once upon a time there was, say for instance, before when people were demanding statehood, this Manipur People's Party came up, and they had a particular goal, they had a particular ideology, they had a particular conception of the path they would have to take. And that thing, that particular ideology stayed strong, which is why they were united for a long time. And then, in fact, they formed governments after governments. I think twice they formed governments, although they didn't last. So that kind of a narrative is necessary for any party to stay on. The Congress has it, and the BJP has it. They have their own, as you were saying, the idea of India, the different ideas of India. But those ideas of India are clashing. And in the case of the regional party, and I would, as I was saying, I will refer to, in a broader sense, some theories. For instance, Fukuyama's End of History and The Last Man. Or, in a more contextual, as well as immediate example, this Ramchandra Guha's book, the India after Gandhi, that you have something to go on. For instance, when the Indian freedom struggle was going on, Congress party was very strong, they were marching ahead. When you're writing history also, you know what to write, the Cripps Mission and then the Rowlatt Act and then the 935 Government of India Act, so many things, not the Quit India movement, that there's something to actually bind you together. But what happened was after Gandhi, after the independence of India, what is the history of India? When you ask that question, I think the same thing will come about, that you don't have any more of that binding thread. Is it going to be about the fightings between BJP and Congress and the other smaller emergence of smaller parties? Is that going to be Indian history? I think that same question comes about. When you're talking about the idea of India, it's also about, is also asking, what is the history of India after Gandhi? I think that's the same question.
Let me bring back you. I mean, I think we are going to the earlier thing. I'm just looking at, let me be a little provocative. MNF still counts in Mizoram. Naga regional party still counts. So down south, up north. Why the regional party survive?
I think that is also what I was referring to.
Let me put it another. You use the word called threat. Manipur seems to be, whether it is the ILP issue, whether it is CAP issues or the scheduled tribe issue, it's all about threat. Despite the predominance of threat, and when the Mizos and the Nagas have it, why is it not there in Manipur?
I didn't say threat. I said thread. No, the binding thread.
Oh,
you bind
sorry.
something with threads.
No, but anyway, my question remains, why it survives in Nagaland, why it survives in Mizoram, where so much of regional sentiment seems to be here, why it's not working in Manipur?
I think the same theory applies, that in Mizoram, the Naga...
answer to that.
Yeah, that thread is still very strong in Mizoram. It's still very strong in Nagaland. There's still, Nagaland, the idea of Naga is still very, very strong.
So you mean to say that Manipuri's cry for our regional identity, Manipuriness, is a little shallow?
No, it is still there, but the leadership is poor. That is, they are not able to take advantage of that particular sentiment.
Okay, it's the right time to transfer it to one of our leaders now in the regional party. Is it the leader's responsibility? That's where we fail?
Yeah, maybe to some extent it's the leaders, but more than that, what we need to understand is our existence and survival has been seriously threatened now. After having lived under the government formed by the national parties, all the promises, all the assurances have been shattered and crumbled. So this is exactly what people of Manipur have realized, and people staying in the northeast seems to have realized it. Say, for instance, how we reacted against the Citizenship Amendment Bill. It's a clear case of threat to our own survival. So people will come together, resist. This is the right time to, like for regional party, I term it aggressive regional parties to grow. It is also leadership. It is because of some internal crisis within the party of some of the regional parties why they have, weakened.
Yamung, I accept that one. It needs to be created is what you are saying. But my question is why it is not in Manipur, why it is in Mizoram and in Nagaland?
We need to create atmosphere. We need to make people change their perception of why is regional party so important in our context.
My question is why Manipur we don't have these regional parties?
We are going to have it soon. Don't worry.
Oh, that's a very.
We are going to have it soon.
That's a typical politician's answer, I suppose. Now let me take it to Yamung Ranjan on this.
Let me just add one. The idea of India. I think the very idea.
I want to get back to both of you.
The very idea of India, I think, comes from Sunil Khilnane's book, Idea of India, where I think I would generally agree with him that it's a discussion. The idea of India is a discussion. Any party which is agreeable to that, I think is acceptable to me. And also, the idea of India, the discussion must be able to acknowledge that there were voices missing in that discussion, in the initial discussion. So if any party is able to accept that mistake and incorporate those voices again, I think that's a good party.
Sangeeta, just hold back. I'll come to you after Yamung. I have a specific question for you.
Yeah, actually,
despite all question of BJP turning out to be, unprecedented in this present parliament, they have that majority and all India kind of moorings that BJP is trying to have it, but they seem to realize that regional forces are indispensable. The way they co-opted Akali Dal and Shiv Sena and stuff like that. So, Yamu, my question is, will you agree that the age of coalition politics is here to stay and regional parties are facts of Indian polity?
No, in my observation, the mindset of the peoples are still not involving in political practice or political awareness is still lagging far behind in comparative with other states.
You mean our state is far behind? Yeah,
particularly in our state. So some groups of academicians or politicians, they make this what you call the regionalism in the state, but the peoples are not adopted in their mind. So some few sections of people saying regionalism, say for example in MPP was one time grown, but it doesn't root it through the base level population. This is one of the factors. So far I observe. So once the political consciousness the awareness is backing in more degree, then the people have the right to think and the right to choose whether regionalism or the national politics is.
Yamu, I was asking actually a very pointed question. You represent a national party.
Yes.
Not only nation ahead, but it also has some sense of India as one nation. A kind of indivisible one entity. But in politics, BJP seems to acknowledge, at least the way it's been going on now, that you can't do away with regional forces and you have to co-opt them. So what I'm saying is your idea of India at one level is sort of unitary, hegemonic, homogenizing, yet in real political practice, you seem to accept that the regional forces are there. I'm asking you, is coalition politics and regional parties are here to stay in India despite BJP's one nation, nation ahead slogan of a particular kind?
That regional party as well as the coalitions, since none of the party, the coalition was appropriate only when the majority doesn't gain in one of the political party. Now we are making the party as a strong and to get the majority also. Of course, if there is a like-minded the party to govern the nation, then we accept it.
Sunday, you will take this question. Before, I just want to provoke the Congress. Is Congress been reduced to a sort of a regional party, or is it still a national party? And what is Congress' attitude towards regional parties? You think that regional parties are here to stay? Congress can't live without them.
No, I disagree with the suggestion that India and the Indian National Congress is reduced to a regional party. That is a very false kind of statement.
I'm just trying to be provocative.
Yeah, that's okay. The Congress party has a presence in all the states. They may not be really ruling in all the states. It has presence everywhere. So I mean, the one thing which is different about Indian National Congress is that it also takes care of the needs of the regions. Say especially now, if you look at the manifesto of the Indian National Congress, they have a very large number of points covering the needs of the northeastern states. Say for instance, during the time of the BJP, they removed the special category status of the states of the northeast. That led to the less investment for the northeastern states. Actually, they put northeastern states at par with the other states of India in terms of allocation of resources for development. They just increased the this tax sharing ratio from 32 to 42%, 10%, and the gap this 42% was shared among all the states as per their formula. So that additional assistance which used to be given to the northeastern states for development was dispensed with. So that now the Indian National Congress is promising in its manifesto that it will be restored. Okay. Apart from that, Northeastern's industrial policy, which is again another major kind of a policy for the industrial development of the Northeast, it was self during the time of this BJP government, maybe for
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting because my question.
I'm just trying to prove that Indian National Congress try to look after the Northeastern region.
My straight question is: do Congress believe that the regional parties are here to stay in this country?
Definitely. I mean, the aspirations of the regions and the parties. I mean, whether it's in other states. I mean, we have to respect that.
Or will you, the Congress is very bad at managing regional coalition is what people are saying these days, but I'm happy that at least one of our politicians is saying that it is here to stay.
No, actually, I want to clarify it.
About the policies criticism.
The previous policy of special status.
No, I knew that.
That was removed by the then government, by the then Chief Secretary who signed on that. And that is the true fact. But that is not in the time of the BJP.
Let's not get into it. There's an issue. Sangeeta, you take it. AZP is hobnobbing with BJP. We know we had discussed this thing also. The tension within AZP between this Atul and the Montes group and so on. But my question is again to you, we have heard, do you think one is coalition politics is here to stay? Regional parties are indispensable? Yes or no? Within that, what is the position of regional forces in Assam itself, the fate of AZP, for instance? What do you say?
From the point of this particular elections, I would say that the regional parties will have. I mean, like the coalition is politics will play a role. I mean, once after March 23rd, they will be the kingmakers.
May 23rd.
Yes. They will be the kingmakers. And coming to the question of the bigger question of the regional parties, particularly I would like to point out why it doesn't work in certain states of the Northeast and why it is working in certain states. Say for Sikkim, in 25 years, SDF has been ruling. And now when you are seeing after 25 years, Chamling is going for his 6th term. He is the longest serving chief minister of the country. There you see the national parties, Congress and BJP, are not at all a factor. But from 2017 onwards, there are at least 5 new regional parties have come up. Okay, and apart from that is the major opposition party, which is SKM. So why I am giving this example here is also because why it is working in Sikkim and why it is not working in, say, Manipur, where MPP is almost dead. So it works because of course, leadership is an issue, as everybody has pointed out, and the other thing is also funding is a very important issue. And then the third point is...
That's what Professor Vishwas was hinting at.
Yes, the funding. You know, when you see a lot of regional parties are allying, either with Congress or BJP, over the years in this region, the main reason is money. And you can take, for example, the Boro People's Front in Assam. The Boro People's Front leader openly says that whoever gives me money, whichever party at the center gives me money, I am with you. So it's like, nobody can be that straightforward and open, so it's that. And the other thing is also the role of the the national political parties in gobbling up the regional parties of the Northeast. If you look at Mizoram, how was the INC formed in Mizoram? It was formed from the, the regional union, and then it became the Congress. So, this is a model that's been tried out in many places, first by Congress, and BJP is also trying to do that. Remember, BJP is very good at, unlike Congress, very good at forging alliances, but it's also known for eating up regional parties. I will give you an example, which is Shiv Sena. You think of Shiv Sena during Bal Thackeray's time and think of it now. Okay, so it has no other option but to have to go with the BJP. So, I will bring it now to Assam. Like, look at AGP and the BJP alliance. Why was AGP has now more or less no choice. It has to go with the BJP. But although the cadres are divided, and I see in coming times a split in that party. So maybe the other one section would just go over and join the BJP, or they will get into, fork into two.
No, that's what, if you're bringing in the leadership, one is the personal rapport that people like Atul has with Sarvanan on the one side, because they are of the same generation. Yes. Mohanta was a little senior to them.
Yes.
So, I mean, people often said if Brigu were alive, things would have been very different, Assam politics, as they said. But leaving aside this personal rapport between possible dynamics or the confluence between AGP and BJP is primarily because of those personal rapport. Do you really think that there is an ideological moorings to this divide in AGP?
See, no, it's not actually ideology yet. Okay. It could well be, but it's like, A, of course, is the funding. B, the opportunity of the particular leaders who are looking for their immediate opportunities. There's 3 people who have actually taken this decision are all ministers in the BJP government. But when you see, yesterday after the voting, the first phase of voting, when you see the BJP's Northeast strategist Himanta Biswa Sarma saying that in one of the major areas, like in one of the seats which it was given to the AGP, the Congress has an edge because the BJP vote didn't get transferred into the AGP. So it's going to be vice versa in many other places in Assam. So that means the decision was taken at the top level, not on the ground. Okay, so those things are also going to play out. So, and another thing I want to point out about the AGP had an earlier split in the 1990s, 1996 elections. Prior to that, it became a no AGP, the new AGP. And finally, they all came together, and then Prafulla Manta became a chief minister again. But why did it break? So it was also engineered by a ruling party, by a national party, because it just didn't want a regional party, because at that time the armed groups were quite active, so they were looked at as allying with them. So that's one thing. And the other thing I want to point out is also in the Northeast, the national parties look at, they take the regional garb. Like if you see Tarun Gogoi government for 15 years, how could he run win 3 terms? He actually marginalized AGP in a way because he took over the regional politics, even if it was a national party. He took over regional politics. It was during his time, remember, the NRC, the update the NRC decision was taken. And then you see the BJP, how did it win the 2016 elections in Assam? Its slogan was not Hindutva. Its slogan was Jati Mati Bheti. That means we'll protect your identity, your land. So this is regional politics. So this is what I'm saying, that even if you are a national party, somewhere in the northeast you do play a regional card. It is true of Manipur too. When the Congress government, the previous Congress government brought in those 3 bills. Why? Because it was trying to reach out to the majority community. Why is Mr. Biren bringing in this new bill? It is because what is it? It's regional politics. So that means it is trying to eat up the space of the regional parties. So it is time for the regional parties to claim that space.
Okay, what you're suggesting is a national party is appropriating these regional sentiments. I think our major thrust of today's discussion is on Indian parliamentary election and what are its implications for Manipur. I know there are issue-based where, I know there are 2 candidates here, so I will avoid that part. Because we know largely because many television shows has been doing it, become political space, and it's a little unfair at this hour of electioneering to ask and raise some of these issues. So I'll avoid those things, we know. But general statement is that take the 2 manifesto and take on sedition law and APSPA, how the 2 parties stand, where the 2 candidates stand, it's immaterial now because let the people decide on that. But I think that I would like to wind up this first session, then I'll open the floor to the audience to interact and ask questions. Tamopradev, you have been one of those guys who've been intensely observing Manipur. I have a question. What is the importance of parliamentary elections of 2 MPs for the destiny of Manipur? How is it important? In what sense is it important? If it is important. If not, why do you think it's not important?
I think this thing will have, I think, probably in the number game we don't matter much. So which is why even Sangeeta was saying that we should, the Northeast should form a joint kind of a lobby where you have 25 MPs. Then I think it will matter. Right now it's not so important, which is why the MP election also do not generate so much of heat in Manipur or Nagaland or anywhere. That you have in the assembly elections, you'll have fights, and it's a very involved kind of election. But in the case of the assembly, the MP elections, the involvement is not much, and also the importance in terms of number is not much, and it's not going to be mattering so much, which is why not so much attention is given here. So I think probably there will have to be some kind of a structural reform, which is why I was saying, which I was objecting to that idea of India that you were talking about in the beginning, that the idea of India has to accommodate these mistakes, these silent voices which are not available at the time of the formation of India, which is why I think probably you restructure the system, that you have in one house equal number of people as in America, and you have the one house where you have 2 representatives from each state, regardless of size, and in the other you have it by number. You have so many people. California has so many people. You'll have so many representatives. Like that, you have UP. But in one house, Rajya Sabha, for instance, you have equal number of representatives from each state. Then I think some kind of justice will come about. Some kind of importance will be given to the parliamentary elections here as well. But right now, that's not happening. I think which is why I was saying that even when Prasenjit was saying, I wanted to ask that, why are you so hung up with the idea of India of all, that you can also have new idea of India, which is accommodating voices which are not available.
So do you agree with this new India of BJP and India?
No, I didn't say that. You're assuming things there.
No, I'm asking you.
No, I already explained that in the beginning also, that you can have different ideas of India. Okay. And this is one of those ideas where the structural changes will have to be made to bring about justice. And to ask for that kind of change is the same thing that the BJP is asking. And you don't have to say that somebody asked for a change in the idea of India, you're being righteous. No, I'm not being righteous. You can also be a very leftist. No, I didn't say that.
I'm saying because people have been doing Naya India.
You were presuming that I was speaking on behalf of the BJP.
No, I didn't presume that. Yeah. I was asking because people have been saying this, new India, new India. I'm just trying to differentiate what you meant by New India and what is people are saying New India. Anyway, we will wind it up here, but I'll open this floor to the audience to raise some questions to the panelists. You know, one peculiar thing which I wanted to ask, but I think it's a little late, so MP election, as Thampradi was saying, it doesn't generate that kind of a thing, but I think issues, what is interesting is in Manipur, I'm just giving, before the floor is open, in Manipur, if Sangeeta, sorry, I'm going to speak in Manipuri now, a little bit of, national politics issues, international relations, something that as a legislature MP you discuss, the typical mindset, which is very revealing for me as an observer of my home state, is that, you know, Delhi mein jaake, you know, when the one who can go and complain and put our case is become, so to my mind it often reminds me of the inherent paramount relationship between Delhi and IMPHAL, is more of complaining, pleading, rather than partaking in a affair of what is India going on, what's the impact on Manipur, what's going to be. That's not the issue. That you can speak Hindi or not, can you speak English or not, and whether you can complain and put our case like that. So I think the underlying political culture is that of relationship between
unequal
Delhi.
relationship.
This is peculiar in Manipur, which I observe it. I don't find it in other states as prominently.
I do find in other states also in varying degrees.
No.
But it's very much.
I'm saying the saliency with which you sense in Manipur is too much. Floor is open for audience. I think our volunteers are there with the mic. So anybody who wants to ask questions on our theme today as Indian parliamentary elections, what are the significance and what kind of implication it has for us. The floor is open for some time. Then each panelist can give a concluding remarks at the end, and we wind up.
The one you just asked.
You give it at the end.
I need to share it because that's very important.
Any questions? If no questions, then I'll give the floor to the panelists. There's no question? Okay, Bhupen wants to ask the questions.
Well, my question obviously goes to Bharatiya Janata Party. In the manifesto of BJP, there is a point of rupees 100 crore to be spent on infrastructure in 5 years. So rupees 100 lakh crores to be spent on infrastructure in 5 years. My question is very simple. From where you're going to get this money? Because as far as Congress party is concerned, we are talking about minimum income guarantee, wherein there was a question thrown on Professor Sam Pitroda, and though his replies was slightly refuted by many personalities like Mr. P. Chidambaram, saying that we will tax the super rich. We will not overburden the middle class by taxing more. So as far as BJP is concerned, we are clueless from where you are going to get this money for 5 years. Are you going to tax more on the middle class? Are you going to tax higher on the lower income group? Or from where you are going to get this money? This is my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. From where the sources is coming for use of this amount? Perhaps you know well aware that about the GST, country has one tax. So it control all the tax percolation running all throughout the years during those days. Now it is SEC. So that taxes has come up to the state exchequer, and from that exchequer we are spending this.
Let's have the round thought concluding
I just want to put a question to Yamurajan.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask.
As far as possible, electioneering competition, I can sense that, that's too unfair and too dear. I'm just trying to remind you.
No, it's a very general question. See, for BJP, I think the idea is clear. In a way, ultra-nationalist position and perhaps a new idea of India, which is maybe going a little bit to the quite a bit to the right. It's very disappointing in many ways for people from the margins. The problem, however, with the alternative to BJP is that everybody is putting cap as anti-cap as an agenda in the election. Issue on Armed Forces Special Powers Act, again quite clearly stated in all. But the problem is there are too many candidates. We have to choose. If you don't want BJP, then you have to choose either Congress or NEIDP or NPP or CPI. So obviously this vote is going to be desperately divided among all this. So if the idea of India is so dear, and if the threat that BJP and Modi is so real, then why is it that there is so many voices and so many candidates which is coming? So I think that is the crux of the problem. There is a total lack of coherence on the so-called left and center politics in this country. And therefore probably the possibility of the right wing, which is in many ways unfortunate, is still very, very real. So I want to address, not to the BJP, for them they are quite clear, why is the non-BJP, the so-called progressive center-left politics so divided, and they are not able to put up a common candidate where people can say, yes, if you don't like this, then this is the alternative and we should vote.
Also wants to ask, because I know you want to leave.
The BJP candidate, and you were talking about the GST, and also the GST actually, the center taking all the taxes, which is actually altering the 7th schedule, where you have the state list and central list. And now, for the states like Northeast, Nabakishore, the Congress candidate, just said there's an incremental kind of share in the taxes for the states. But that state, but the point is, what the states are collecting as their own tax has been taken away by the center. So that is actually, there has been no changes at all. Although there seems to be something that you had 30% something and then you have 42%, a little bit of increase. And that is accounted for by the GST. The trouble is, when you talk about the federal structure of India, I think that has actually hampered that, because what the states were supposed to get, the center is holding, and then center is doling out to the states again. And so the center is actually controlling, having more control on the states by actually implementing GST. This thing was never looked into, and I was wondering why.
This question and your concluding thought and overall.
Yeah. See, at the beginning, I already stated that we want to make a strong nation positively, and there should be one citizen also. Of course, there is a regionalism, the ethos are there. So BJP is a national party having the kind of regional outlook. So in case of GST, let us see for some time how much they effectively implement. Otherwise, this is an experimental stage and also trying to improve it in certain factors.
Your concluding thoughts on this election and destiny of Manipur?
Pardon?
What is the destiny of Manipur that has to do with this election?
Actually, in these elections, we are hoping a great idea for our future generations. Particularly, I have mentioned in some platform also, the northeastern India was lying as a landlocked in those the party's government, but now our party is trying to be land link between Southeast Asia and the mainland India through Manipur. And also we know that we have two economic blocks. One is SAARC and another one is ASEAN. And even the concept of Greater Mekong idea was generated by our NDA government during Atul Bihari Vajpayee. And then with the modification of Act East policy, we have a lots of ideas, we have a lots of policy, either in terms of culture or language or human resource or natural resource that will improve our generation in our future. That is our idea, and we will make a better policy in all these things.
Your concluding thoughts for 2 minutes.
This idea of strong India of BJP is totally misguided. In the sense that, they think that after making a kind of airstrikes on Balakot, they think that India has become stronger, Modi has become stronger. How does a nation become strong? Economically, the nation has to become economically very strong. Only then the other countries will take note of that country. At the first, economic strength will lead to the military strength. Once you have the money, then you can buy the weapons and the other things. Which these two things, military power and economic powers, are essential for a nation to become very, very strong. But Modi's idea of a strong nation is some strikes here, some surgical strike here and there, and flexing muscles here and there, and they are trying to project that Modi is the very strong man, India is strong. This is very, very misguided and based on some kind of agenda to mislead the people. And the second thing about the future, the role of the MPs in this election, the very question which is coming from our anchor person itself is very narrow. Some scholars or intellectuals say that this election is the contest of two ideas. No, this is not a contest of two ideas. This may be the contest of idea of a few intellectuals. This election is going to be fought as per the needs of the people. What are the needs of the people? The first need is the roti, kapra, or makan. Those things still remain very relevant for a poor country like India. Not for intellectuals, it may be irrelevant. So many issues, which are reflected in the manifesto of the Congress party, is trying to, address the needs of the people. So when Congress comes to power, I'm sure the BJP will not be allowed to continue with this rightist kind of conservative kind of or the so-called strong idea of one religion and not giving any regard to other communities or other minorities. This is completely against the spirit of the Constitution, the spirit of India, which is multicultural and pluralistic society.
In fact, this idea of two contests.
Yeah, let me respond.
This is bound to happen in election time. But I think it's not a narrow formulation by intellectual and commentator. In fact, Rahul Gandhi's own formulation is in this. We are fighting for defending an idea against a particular kind of an idea. And there is Rahul Gandhi's own statement on that. Anyway, having said that,
actually, no, just 1 minute because I want to leave it. Excuse me for a while. We are making strong India, and we have seen it for the last 30 years of Congress rule, how India was dwindled and degraded and not respected by other international bodies. Now, when we strike to that Pakistan's by the airstrike, why the international bodies are not objecting? Why the Congress party is objecting this national issue? That shows that who are the nationalists who want to make the India strong, and that what party is making India to destroy? We have experience, a lot of experience for the last 60 years. And we are talking now, roti, kapra, makan, the 130 social welfare schemes is delivering to the peoples. Why the Congress party is not able to do during their rules? So these are all blaming. So we don't like any blame game. We want the needs and the profit and development fruit to the people, to each and every citizen of India.
Okay, we talk about strong India, weak India. At the end of the day, we always, my preoccupation is, I'm sure Yamung also has a similar preoccupation, what it has to do with Manipur. So your concluding thoughts on that?
In the first place, I would like to share what Pradeep Fanjobum has stated regarding fundamental radical change in the structure of the Indian Constitution on the line of Senate system in America. I think that's very important for effective and proper representation of the interests of all the states. if India has to survive, this has to bring about. Nothing else can survive the Indian nation. And maybe we don't have as many MPs as the UP has, but two voices of the state of Manipur is as important as the voices of 80 MPs of the state of UP or any other states in India. Now, what I would like to say about my party is that all the national parties and their respective governments have failed to deliver. The grievances, political grievances, economic grievances, social grievances of Manipur as well as Northeast India. That is the reason why this party has come about. This party took birth because of that reason. Now we want to assert our interest, assert our rights, and we'll definitely take it. We'll win and we'll take it. That's our point. And another thing, you mentioned about not able to survive, not able to maintain a party because of lack of fund and all that. We have planned it out well. In fact, we have associated with a group of business corporates who have gone global. We have gone global. It is a new experiment in Manipur. Maybe it's a new experiment in the entire region, Northeast. They have connections with very developed countries in Europe, Southeast Asia, Japan, Hong Kong. Then we have Czech Republic. Then we have many other countries. In fact, we have associated with a group that associates in terms of business, in terms of legal earning, legitimate earning. That is one thing, and we are really looking forward to bring about a lot of changes for more jobs, for creating more jobs for the youths and educated lot. We are trying to bring in community college, which was initiated and started in America way back in 1904, which has never happened in any other states of India. And through that, we are going to train everyone, like less educated, less privileged groups will be educated properly, so that any job they take up will ensure that they find a job. And in the healthcare system also we have a policy, and beyond the state of Manipur, we are also taking up many more policy-based activities to expand further into Northeast, our political activities, so that we will be able to have more MPs, so that we can express with larger strength of MPs, so that the government of India for the region, the mainland India, they will be made to hear. They'll have to listen. They won't refuse. These are some of the highlights that our party has initiated, and through this, we plan to bring about a change in Manipur. Definitely, next era will be the age of vibrant, alive, aggressive regionalism in the state of Manipur. And India will shine through the coordination, combination, and working in the spirit of working together. And that'll be the future India that we are planning to initiate. Thank you very much.
Okay. If you can give your concluding thought, 1 minute. And
okay.
So.
Yeah, we started with this idea of India when we, I belonging to a majority community, both in Assam and also being from the Hindu community, living in this country when this idea about two Indias are being talked about, perhaps I'm in a very privileged position to also look at it, according to, whether there's actually a threat or there's no threat. But but there is a point which I want to make here is also about people from the minority communities. They do fear about what India has been and what in different India might happen to, so this is that there is a certain amount of fear in the minority community that we have to acknowledge. Okay, when we talk about the idea of India. And the other thing is about, he's not here, but when he's talking about actist policy. See, this region, entire region, not just Manipur, entire region, one of the biggest problems I see is that why this unrest among, why this strong sense of regionalism also? Because for it's about, as you said, about that sense of the imbalance, that is always that we've not been heard so far. That feeling is very much there. And this unrest is also linked to the lack of any control in the economy of the indigenous people, of the local people. So when you are thinking about actist policy, you have to keep that thing in mind, because it is not just the opening of the certain region to a wider market and then you think that on its own all these problems would go away. Because when you are bringing in opening the market, you are also bringing in lot of very big business houses here. So it's also then comes to the question of land, and the identity in entire Northeast is also very territorial, directly linked to land. So it's community land, it's land. So this is something which have to be looked at with lot of sensitivity, I feel, because otherwise you are going to again bring about another layer of imbalance and unrest in people. So that is something, one thing. And lastly, I want to say that CAB, is one such example which brought all the people of the Northeast together, which is, always the New Delhi's gaze has been Northeast, and that's why we have a donor ministry. It wants only one set of policies for all the Northeastern states, while the Northeastern states want New Delhi to see them differently. So it is the CAB that has now brought everybody together and have, in a way, pushed the center also to stop and think. Okay, so I'm actually waiting to see how New Delhi reacts to this in coming times. Thank you.
Okay, Tamo, your last concluding thoughts, then we wind up. James will
I'll just take 1 minute, because I've already said what I wanted to say, that the idea of India, that we're talking, I would normally agree with the more liberal kind of a definition of that idea. And then also that the idea of India is not something defined, not something which is concretized already, that you can't change it anymore. I think the idea of India should be about, as Sunil Kalani says, and also Amrita Sen and others, that it's a continuing debate, it's a continuing discussion, it's a discursive kind of a space where voices which have not been heard before can be heard again, and those voices will be taken into account, and changes made accordingly. So I think the idea of India is that it should be ready to change. If it is a fundamental kind of change, it should be still ready to change, but on a discursive kind of a space, not on anybody's diktat, not on anybody's preconceived idea of India. No? It should be open. It should be in an open space, and then I think there will be much of these conflicts that we are seeing here will see a conclusion.
Okay, thank you for everybody coming, and for our panelists. The idea is to have a discussion on the broader issues and set the terms about what is this national election, what is the place of states like Manipur and Assam in that idea of the nation, what difference will such election makes, and the issues around that is what we wanted to flag off this issue as part of larger debate and idea, not simply about some specific issues and elections, who wins and who doesn't have it, personalities of the candidate. I think far more important is to set up a particular discourse and understand about coalition politics, regional politics, what is this national election means for places like Manipur. Thank you so much, and I think I'll hand over to the organizers to take over now.
Thank you, sir. I thank all our panelists and moderator for that wonderfully conducted session, and also to our audience for making it a very interactive one. Our panelists may kindly step down. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come towards the end of the program, may I invite Shri James Mayengbam, member of the People's Campaign on Resurgent Manipur, PCRM, to propose the vote of thanks.
As we have come to the concluding part of our conclave on election today, it has been a very wonderful discussion with the idea of India and the importance of regionalism into the idea of India. And we really appreciate all our panelists who have turned up today, giving their very rare time to us. I especially thank all of the candidates who has come to take part in this discussion, as well as the editor, deputy editor of Wire, and the editor of IMPHAL Free Press, and our moderator, Professor Bimol Akoijam. And we also have, we will be in some time serving dinner for all of us who are here today. And with that, I conclude this discussion and a conclave organized by IMPHAL Free Press. Thank you all to have been here.
Thank you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the conclave on Indian parliamentary election, reflections on Manipur and India's Northeast, organized by the IMPHAL Free Press in collaboration with PCRM. I, on behalf of the organizers, once again thank all our guests for making it and for making it a very meaningful event. Ladies and gentlemen, lunch will be served right outside the hall. I would like to invite everyone to kindly join us. Sorry, dinner. I would like to invite everyone to kindly join us for dinner and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.